But the one space that we've been talking about of late has been power, especially yesterday, given the move coming in the power sector and all the excitement around the outlook thereof. For the year ahead, the impact on the financials, of course, for some of these majors from the Uday bonds is something that we would like to know about. So good time as any to bring on board Mr. P.V. Ramesh, CMD at REC. He joins us on the show right now. Mr. Ramesh, hi, good morning. Firstly, sir, just a general outlook on what you're expecting from the power sector demand per se for the year ahead.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me here. And we are looking at a very robust growth in the power sector demand on all across the value chain. We have today per capita consumption of about 1,000 kilowatts. We expect this to double in the next 5 years. The Government of India's objective is to provide 24/7 quality power at a competitive price to every citizen of this country. And in this direction, major efforts are being made in both generation, transmission, and especially the distribution network. The new Uday scheme is a far-reaching influence on restructuring and rejuvenating the DISCOMs. There's a further efforts that are being made in extending electricity. The objective of the Honorable Prime Minister is to extend power to every single village in the country by end of this year, and to provide power to every household. And there are nearly 5 crore households without power. So we foresee a very robust growth across the value chain of the power sector, and especially with the goal of adding another 261 gigawatt generation capacity, of which 175 gigawatts is to come from the green energy investments. There is especially interesting times for all players in the power sector, and Rural Electrification Corporation, which has been a major player for nearly 50 years in this sector, with investments across the country, across the value chain, and also being the coordinator for implementing Uday, and also the Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana, and a range of other programs of Government of India. And we have offices across the country working with all the state electricity boards, the power utilities, and we have especially strategic position in terms of working with both the public sector, private sector, and from the generation to the village level. So the whole range of operations, and what we see is a very robust growth in the coming years.
So I'm guessing you're banking on market share gains in the SEB financing segment as well, sir?
Yes, absolutely, because I mean the state, we've been working with the state electricity boards for the last 48 years, and we have a major share, and there are a number of interventions that are taking place, as you are well aware. I mean, in terms of the generation, there's a rationalization in terms of coal supply, the quality of coal, the goal of the Coal India to double its production as well as productivity. All this would contribute to further modernization of the generation, but major investments are taking place in transmission network, and especially at the distribution network. The goal is to reduce the technical and commercial losses of the distribution companies from 22% at present to 15% by 2019. So that's a major effort that's being made, and the first step in that is the Uday, where the debt of the DISCOMs across the country have been substantially redeemed, and now the major efforts are being made in terms of reforming governance and also investing in technological upgradation. So our close proximity with the state electricity boards in this regard really helps us both in terms of modernizing and in terms of achieving 24/7 power for all by turn of this decade.
Okay, so which is good to know. Now, the other aspect is, and I think you made a brief reference, or somebody else was making a reference this morning about how impactful the Uday scheme seems to be. What is your thought on the of the Uday bonds on the loan book for a company like yours? Anything that you would want to share here?
Okay, let me clearly explain this. Actually, Uday, there's no Uday bonds as such. It is actually 75% of the Uday debt is now transferred to the government books of accounts. So, which basically meant, I mean, there was an outstanding debt of about 4.3 lakh crores, of which 3 lakh crores is what was meant to be redeemed. But some of the states, like Karnataka and Gujarat, they said they are financially well. So they only opted for the operational efficiency part of the Uday and not for the financial restructuring. But overall, we received a prepayment from DISCOMs to the tune of about 30,500 crores. And we are expecting another 12,000 crores from the last, from Tamil Nadu and Telangana, which have come on board very recently. Now, this has not affected our books of accounts. Actually, our loan book was showing 2.101 lakh crores on 31st March. At the end of September, it is 1,96,000 crores. What we have done basically is the prepayment we have received. We have stepped up sanctions and disbursements. We have had an additional disbursement of about 28,000 crores additionally compared to the first half year of 2016 and compared to 2015 first half year. So what it meant is an accelerated disbursement because the demand for investment is growing, and overall our books are very healthy, and then we further plan to step up in the coming second half of this year and the 2017-2018. You would see that the major investments would flow into two sectors. One, of course, is the renewables and creating the green energy corridor. And on the other side is the modernization of the distribution network. I mean, whether it is feeder separation, whether it is smart metering and smart grid management and the transmission network modernization. So there's a big, substantial addressing of the value chain of the power sector. So we are quite robust in our operations.
Good to hear that. And would you say then, Mr. Ramesh, that this will translate on higher margins as well from you guys, you know, for the entire year? I know you'd be in a silent period, so don't give me exact numbers, but would it be safe to assume that it would be a higher trajectory?
Yes, I mean higher trajectory from two things. One is, of course, is the volume of business, I mean the level of investments we are making. And the second one, of course, is the quality of investments that we are making in the assets. And also third is the quicker project execution and management. Actually, REC has two subsidiaries which are involved in providing services across the power sector value chain. So we are working with the state utilities, especially the DISCOMs, and of course is the transmission, the generation companies, to really address the quality of investments and timely completion of the projects. So this should translate into much higher margins in terms of the returns, notwithstanding the fact that there is a trend towards lowering of the interest rates, which we as a public financial company have been very responsive to.
Okay. Mr. Ramesh, we wish you all the best for 2017 and more. There is, of course, so much to chat with you, but time is always a constraint. But thanks much for taking the time out, and wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, and all the best, and happy Pongal to your audience.
Thank you. Happy Pongal, happy Lohri, and all the festivities across the country. Thanks much for taking the time out and joining us today, Mr. Ramesh.